Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the most recent failure for pro-social justice warrior media, the latest woke DC comic book movie called Birds of Prey. Well, actually, Birds' first weekend went so poorly for it, the studio has now elected to change the name of the movie to Harley Quinn Birds of Prey. This is an obvious sign of desperation, and also, it just goes to show how poorly this project has been marketed since the beginning. In fact, I would even say the film was poorly conceived and produced, since really, they should have just went with the Harley Quinn spin-off that they seem to be trying to pitch in the first place. Harley was one of the better parts of that critical failure of a movie that preceded this called Suicide Squad, of course, but instead of trying to make amends and follow Suicide Squad up with a proper Harley Quinn spin-off, well, instead they made Birds of Prey, which is basically an all-girl version of Suicide Squad, with Harley Quinn tacked on to another larger group-based movie like that previous one. And to make matters even worse, Harley Quinn has been changed and turned and corrupted and molded into a totally new character almost beyond recognition. If she wasn't played by the same actress Margot Robbie, you might not even know this Birds of Prey Harley Quinn was the same person, especially considering the frumpy clothing, the childish attitude, and the fact that she's trying to join this hero group now, as if she wasn't this insane and murderous henchman before, and a girlfriend to one of the greatest villains of all time, the Joker. Regardless, Birds of Prey is now called Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, even though she does just end up being a supporting part in this new movie, meaning she's not exactly the entire main character, even though she could be seen as somewhat of a leader, but the rest of the cast gets almost equal screen time, in a movie that's being touted now as if it's a Harley Quinn-led picture when it's really not. This article from comicbook.com has more details. It's called Birds of Prey changes title at movie theaters. Check this out. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is changing its name to Harley Quinn Birds of Prey on all theater chain sites after a struggle to fly at the box office in its opening weekend. Struggled to fly. Nice pun there. The R-rated DC Comics movie, which had a lesser budget than most other major comic book films from DC or Marvel, opened to only $33.2 million at the domestic box office. Other R-rated comic book films in recent years, such as Deadpool and Joker, opened to more than $130 million and $90 million respectively. Birds was not expected to reach such heights, but was projected to earn closer to $50 million in its debut. Conversations have swirled online about why Birds of Prey was not met with huge ticket sales in theaters of the first weekend in February, with much of the speculation pointing towards the R rating hindering a younger audience from buying tickets. The film was met with impressive reviews, getting certified fresh on the review aggregate site Rotten Tomatoes, as if that means anything anymore. It would seem the film was intended to be an R-rated romp, but may have tested better with younger audiences, because it was childish and had stupid jokes for kids. Therefore, never released a red band trailer or embraced its sometimes violent, often foul-mouthed adventure in its marketing. Gee, I wonder why this pro-feminist girl power movie that's antagonized men by trying to deflect our so-called male gaze, well, gee, I wonder why this same movie didn't get money from us at the box office. Could it be all this woke SJW, this movie wasn't made for us nonsense is finally catching up with the left-wingers once again? I mean, this isn't even the first time. All-girl woke lady team-up movies have been failing for years. Ghostbusters 2016 is a first example, and Ocean's 8, and then Charlie's Angels from 2019. And Terminator Dark Fate could be considered in this too, just to name a few. Now, you might think Captain Marvel is a noteworthy exception since it made a shitload of money despite being a pro-feminist kind of thing, but at the same time, Captain Marvel did have a strong supporting male cast too, including the legendary likes of Samuel L. Jackson, who was basically the co-star for the film, along with Jude Law, who was one of the main villains, previously a mentor for the Captain. Basically, Captain Marvel is kind of an exception, but it had the noteworthy difference of not being an all-girl lady reboot women team-up film, a premise that always seems to fail like these others we've mentioned. Now, this is a recent trend that, of course, Birds of Prey fell into quickly, so despite this biased comicbook.com article not recognizing the real reasons why Birds of Prey is floundering, well, I think we all know why it's true. And also, we should point out that this isn't to say all-girl team-up movies are bad or will meet this same fate. The original Charlie's Angels movies from the early 2000s were great examples, and they did well because they not only had hot and sexy girls in their cast, performing well with great action, and more importantly, there was no overt left-wing politics there, and very little dude bashing besides some lighthearted pokes just for fun. So the final point here is, girl team-up movies since about 2016 have been failing hardcore, mostly because they're feminists all the time with political and anti-male messages, and sometimes they dress down the girls too. Birds of Prey obviously went down down this route, but they didn't have to. They could have made their shit better by being more like the Charlie's Angels movie from the year 2000. In the year 2000... Comicbook.com was among those offering up positive reviews for Birds of Prey. The next step for DC Films shows that the comic book brand has an arsenal of characters that are tremendously interesting and should be explored further, but it does leave a lot of meat on the bone by focusing so heavily on the surefire box office draw that is Harley Quinn. The official review reads, "The film starts off slowly and finds its stride in the second act, with McGregor's villain being the entertaining standout while underutilizing some of its other more interesting characters. It is entertaining and a great starting point for some new characters on the big screen. Regal Cinemas and AMC Theaters have already updated the title to reflect the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey title. Tickets are available from the theater chain now." Well, I have to say, if you didn't think comicbook.com was biased about this before, now it's pretty clear. This so-called positive review they're giving Birds of P, it seems forced, to put it kindly. To put it bluntly, it sounds like they're bending over backwards to try and say something nice, because they're either getting paid off or they want to review this positively because they support the woke pro-SJW, pro-progressive, and liberal messaging. Either way, it's terrible, and they do a horrible job of hyping up this movie. First of all, if Harley Quinn was such a surefire box office draw as they claim, why the hell is her new movie doing so badly then? Now they want to tack her name onto the title to try and save this, but as I said before, that could make this worse too, since calling this movie Harley Quinn is rather misleading. It would be like if you called the last Suicide Squad movie Harley Quinn Suicide Squad instead. In fact, that's a perfect analogy actually. That's why I compared them like this before. And also, are people forgetting that everyone hated Suicide Squad back in 2016? Because surely that's a big part and reason for Birds of Prey, the sequel, failing now. It is a sequel to a movie most people didn't like, but it got made anyway because the last one still made money and this one was going for a girl power thing. But sequels also tend to make less money even if they're good. So in turn, Birds of Prey should have predicted they were going to make much less too. Then this lackluster review trying to church up Birds of Prey, well, it finishes by saying the movie is a great starting point, which is really just a nice way of saying this entry is not totally complete, and it leaves you wanting to see something more interesting happen in the next film. But of course, movies shouldn't be leading to or leaning on sequels in this way. Every good picture I've ever seen needs to be great and whole and complete and good to watch on its own, even if it's a sequel or it has next entries already planned. Now that we got through this title change nonsense, let's next turn to the blame game, before finally talking about how Sonic the Hedgehog fits into all of this. More on Sonic later though, because first, let's see who the Birds of Prey stans are going to point their fingers at, because we all know they can't take responsibility for this loss, and no way they'll self-reflect and blame themselves for any part of this epic failure, not a chance. As this Bounding into Comics article goes over, Birds of Prey fans and Punisher creator Jerry Conway blame film's poor opening on men and misogyny. Wow, that's interesting, but I gotta say, we did see this coming. SJWs love to shoot for the moon and take things to the extreme. That's why their girl-powered movies don't just stop there. They also have to shit on men too. And meanwhile, pro-guy, dude-bro kinds of movies don't have to shit on women when you think about it. In fact, they often have a hot chick involved, or better yet, guy movies are made as homages to ladies that they love, but not in the reverse or inverse. No, women or feminist or girl power movies in current year especially, they always have to shit on the dudes and make all the guys out to be bad guys at the same time. Then they wonder why their movie fails. Well, it's because you've alienated half the country at your outset, and most of your potential audience is within this demographic too. Yet, as with other movies previously listed already, and we've gone over the stories before, well, when these girl power movies shit on men and then fail at the box office because of that, they then double down and blame the same men they were shitting on. Absolutely ridiculous. But low IQ leftists don't see it this way at all, of course. That's why people like Gabriella here on Twitter, she sent out this saying, when Birds of Prey might flop at the box office because y'all hate women. Because we hate women, you say? You see, I don't get that. I could think of 10 or so much more reasonable and rational reasons for why this film is flopping, most of which we've already gone over one way or the other, but let me go ahead and add a new one on here for good measure. I think another reason the Birds of Prey movie isn't doing so well with its fans, well, it's because they left out one of their main, most noteworthy characters, the Oracle, or Barbara Gordon, formerly Batgirl, a part of the Batman franchise. In fact, now that we're talking about what the original comic book fans might have expected for a Birds of Prey movie, well, for the record, Harley Quinn might not have been what was in their heads. As stated before, Birds of Prey is supposed to be a female superhero team, but Harley Quinn is a villain and killing machine. She hardly ever was featured with Birds of Prey at all before, aside from a few meetups and encounters, usually her still being the villain. But from what I can remember and gather from searching online, Harley was barely ever part of the actual Birds of Prey team at all, which makes this movie coming out this way rather curious and weird and kind of interesting. And these changes and missed expectations are surely more of a reason fans didn't see this, and it makes more sense than them just hating women, which is a reason that's yet to be proven. Next, in addition to saying the movie's detractors hate women, the supporters also use the scapegoat of viewers complaining about the lack of sexualization. This excuse was even put forth by the co-creator of the famous Punisher comic book named Jerry Conway, who described the supposed lack of desire by young men to see the film as crass, horrible, and shallow. He also stated that the desexualizing of the team's members as, in the abstract and politically, this is good. If you say so, dude. I think girls looking good is good too. And if you want to make a girl power movie that says screw the dudes, why would these girl characters then dress up like guys? And here's another tweet and statement from Conway saying this: I'm so disappointed by Birds of Prey box office and what it says about the male audience for superhero films. Here's my controversial take, don't hate me. The movie didn't pull teenage boys because Margot Robbie didn't want Harley Quinn to be sexualized as she was in Suicide Squad. God forbid her character looks good. It's horribly shallow, but there we are. I'll bet much of Harley's appeal for young men in Suicide Squad was the hypersexualization of her body in a midriff shirt and short shorts that emphasized her buttocks and legs. To her credit, Robbie wanted to attack that. So she basically wanted to attack the thing that made her popular and successful. Genius. And I wouldn't put that to her credit either, dude. Robbie can try and change her image all she wants, but I don't know if she actually has a right to change the look and character of a beloved villain like Harley Quinn. Harley is supposed to be this hot but deadly, sexy but crazy, offer rocker but total showstopper kind of gal. Making her into this frumpy, ugly, boyish, manly looking character for Birds of Prey totally misses the point. Good on Margot Robbie for trying to make a turn in her career here, but come on, you were obviously hired to make your characters hot and sexy like you. You're more of an underwear model than an actual actress, and there's nothing wrong with that either. The world needs models and actresses and underwear and people to put on posters. But it does become an issue like this, like what's going on here, when people like Margot Robbie think they're too big for their britches, and suddenly they think they're better than this, when really, you're not, girl. Margot's greatly overestimating her self-worth and acting abilities. As for Conway getting on board with this so-called desexualization of Harley Quinn, well, I think that just goes along with his left-leaning history. He's been known to get woke like this before, like when he went anti-cops in a 2017 Twitter rant that was similar to this. And now for some reason in current year, making women sexy and cool and likable is taboo, instead opting to dress down amazing and beautiful actresses like Margot Robbie, virtually ruining supposed to be good-looking characters like Harley Quinn in the process. Finally, let's wrap things up and talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. This character became involved in the story when Birds of Prey fans and stans realized the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie is coming out this week, and it will surely knock Birds of Prey out of the top spot at the box office, perhaps making it an even worse flop. So, what did the SJWs decide to do when they realized this? Well, just like how they attacked the men and virtually told us not to see the movie, and they attacked us for not seeing the movie, which is what they implied they want us to do, well, after we got in trouble for not seeing a movie not made for us, now the left-wingers are going to attack a movie that could compete with their beloved feminist Birds of Prey picture. This resulted in SJWs falsely attacking Sonic, saying the film is going to be racist, bigoted, and offensive when it's really not, and they haven't even seen it either. This article from Cosmic Book News has more details. It's called Birds of Prey Fans Sabotaging Sonic the Hedgehog. Check this BS out. The few fans of Birds of Prey that exist are actually so triggered by the film's poor performance at the box office that they are attempting to sabotage the opening of this weekend's family-friendly Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Birds of Prey absolutely tanked last week at the box office, just like I said it would, which has led to Margot Robbie's toxic fandom taking to social media to lie about Sonic the Hedgehog in an attempt to get people to stop watching it when it opens this Valentine's Day weekend. Twitter user LS Mark took screenshots of some of the tweets noting Birds of Prey fans seeing the Sonic movie as a threat to their dumb Harley Quinn movie flopping at the box office and trying to spread lies about the Sonic movie to make people not want to see it is the funniest thing I've seen in a while. And attached to that tweet are pictures of Birds of Prey fans tweeting all kinds of crazy things like saying the Sonic movie has homophobic slurs in it, which which is surely not true. And then conveniently, this user says go see Birds of Prey instead. Then the next hater even says they were a victim of a hate crime while watching Sonic, perpetuated by fictitious white men no less. Sounds like this person might be taking a play out of Jesse Smollett's playbook. Next, people called Sonic racist and homophobic again, and so on and so forth. I think you guys get the point. SJWs will stop at nothing to both support and prop up projects they deem woke, usually because they've pandered to them, although at the same time the left rarely shows up at the box office and spends the money. These radical progressives exist in numbers far less than we all think, and in addition to giving woke projects lip service, liberal activists will also trash and hate on things that compete or threaten them, like what they're doing with the wholesome family film Who Never Did Anything Wrong, coming from the world-renowned and now much beloved Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. What do you guys think? Will this Birds of Prey Harley Quinn name change get the movie more viewers? Was it men and our misogyny that was to blame for the first week's flop? And is Sonic going to suffer for daring to compete with this failed woke masterpiece? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button to help support this channel, and we'll see y'all next time.